YouTube! How's it going, me dears? I've hit a wall with my writing today. I've been sitting staring at the same page for about an hour now, drinking copious cups of tea, eating lots of biscuits, and saying, "Make fiction now," in forcible tones. It's not working. So I thought I'd do a YouTube video, since I've got something very, very lovely to review as well, which I recently picked up during a trip to London with my friend Gerard, also known as Wolfgang 1, which was an epic debork. Yes, many pleasures flowing freely throughout the course of the weekend. Awesome fun. Anyway, whilst I was over there, I happened to pick up this little chappie. And he is very little. This is Generation Soundwave, or rather Warper Cybertron Soundwave. It's like Generation's Megatron. It's based on the designs from the frankly mediocre, rather lackluster, incredibly boring Warper Cybertron game. I liked it when I first played it. Played it through once, won't be playing it ever again. It's just too limited. I liked what they did with Cybertron and with the design of the Transformers. I thought the environments were very nice and the voice acting was fine. But the gameplay was so stilted, it was so, so one-dimensional that I probably won't be bothering with it again. I'm more of a Fallout, Oblivion, Fable kind of guy. I like games with meat, so not sure what that gesture suggests, particularly from a homosexual man. But anyway, yes, Soundwave. Soundwave is one of the most fantastic characters from Transformers. I've already done a review of Generation 1 Soundwave, which you'll find knocking about my channel somewhere. But I'm going to rehash his character because he's so cool. Soundwave is this rather silent, sinister figure who tends to stand in the background of proceedings. He's Megatron's right-hand man. He's very much the most trusted lieutenant that Megatron has. He operates nominally as the communications officer amongst the Decepticons, but he seems to fulfill a lot more roles than that. He is Megatron's go-to guy. When something really needs doing professionally, doing well, he will go to Soundwave. He's an excellent soldier. He doesn't speak very much, which again is probably a bonus insofar as Megatron is concerned. He also seems on the surface to be very loyal to Megatron. He even seems to respect him and like him quite a lot. I think if Megatron has a friend amongst the Decepticons, with the exception of Ravage, whom we all know he's having a bit of an affair with, it's this guy. They seem to respect one another very, very much. It hasn't yet been revealed in most continuities whether Soundwave has alternative or ulterior agendas, which he might. There's a general air about him where you just never know where he's coming from or what he's doing. He's the power behind the throne. He's the shaman of the Decepticons. He's the Grand Vizier. And in that regard, he also seems to have some really odd capabilities. His manipulation of radio waves and of sound and whatnot is second to none. He can create solid walls of force from sound waves and whatnot, hence his name, and also serves to keep all of the other Decepticons in communication with one another. He also has mind-reading capabilities, which is really rather weird. He monitors brainwave activity, and he can roughly determine information and thoughts from Transformers and also from biological beings as well. Anyway, that's Soundwave. He's very cool, and from Generation 1 he's a lot of people's favourites. This is Soundwave before he gets his Earth mode, and quite frankly, I mean, God, don't you wish that he kept it? Soundwave's Earth mode, unfortunately, the mode that the Ark chose to give to him when in the 1980s, when the Transformers were first resurrected, was a cassette player. Yeah, he's a giant evil robot who turns into a cassette player. It's problematic, it's inert, it's one of the things that, so great about the character. It does fit him quite well, but oh god, I much prefer this. He's some sort of armoured, mobile, almost like a personnel carrier or something. Very, very cool. I'm really impressed with this mode. He has a sort of beetle-like thing going on, which seems to fit Soundwave quite well. This carapace here looks almost organic. He also has this lovely affair going on at the front. These spikes can be brought down to face forward, so he can do some real damage to Autobots in his way. That is lovely. It would have been nice if he'd come with a laser beak or buzzsaw or ravage accessory. One of his little cassettes in the other continuities, Soundwave has a small personal army of robots in which becomes his chest cavity. They transform into cassettes, and they're very loyal to him, and they sort of serve as a personal militia. He doesn't have any of them in this incarnation, which is a little bit sad. As I say, he's very small. He's nominally a deluxe, but he's tiny. Even for a deluxe, he's really, 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 really small. But you know what? Getting him in hand, I really don't care. He's gorgeous. As the Generations line is wont to be at the moment, it's churning out quality after quality after quality. I'm so glad that it is the core line and not the fucking Power Core Combiners, which are lackluster to say the least. Power Core Combiners, oh, they're so compromised. They're bots that, unlike the Generations line, which are largely gimmick-less, the Power Core Combiners are built around their gimmicks, and therefore the bots are hideously compromised. Stop doing it, Hasbro. Anyway, getting back to Soundwave, the toy is really glorious. His plastic is fantastic. He has loads and loads and loads and loads of detail all over him. Hardly any hint of a robot going on there. He is a Cybertronian mode, which can sometimes be a little bit... But no, this is a good one. He looks great in this mode. He has these two little guns here, which you can detach, and they sort of fit in there. But meh, why bother? Very, very gorgeous, and quite appropriate vehicle mode, I suppose. One of the difficult things with Soundwave is it's making a mobile and interesting mode for him that works. It's always been an issue, because he's always been some sort of communication device, traditionally, which has a tendency to be a little bit inert. This works. I like it a lot. Also, although he's basically a car former, his transformation's great. It's really clever and cool. Let's get rid of those little things. And it's just a case of splitting the whole thing apart. Like all of the Generations Transformers, he's really quite complicated. But, take note, designers of the movie line, complicated but very, very intuitive. You can figure out how to transform this guy with just a little bit of fiddling. And I suppose in robot mode, it's where some of the mold's issues come to the fore, and there kind of are issues with this guy, but they're not overwhelming. It's just most of them relate to his scale. It's because he's so bloody small. I would love them, since the Generations line does seem to be proving quite successful. I would love it if they started doing some more upscale Generations toys. Prime and Megatron and Straxus are must-haves, really. Those, good as those molds are, they would be improved massively by having Voyager classes of exactly the same molds come out. That would be just stupendous. We're nearly there now. It's just a matter of closing these flaps. I don't know why I said that with such relish. It just seems to be a word that you have to say with relish. Flaps. And sticking on his weapons. That is basically Soundwave. All you do is take his little concussion blaster, and it is very little, very, very tiny this time. It's certainly not as impressive as the G1 incarnation's cannon. It's a little bit oh well. And get his little shoulder cluster missile thing and peg it into the port, and that's basically it. there you have Generation Soundwave in his really gorgeous robot mode. One of the things War for Cybertron did really well, and which these toys do really well, is creating Cybertronian versions, are really recognisable Cybertronian versions of existing characters. There will be no doubt in any Transformers fans' minds who that is. It's Soundwave. And it's brilliant. He's really beautiful, and he looks stupendous next to War for Cybertron Megatron, of whom he should always be on the right hand of. Yes, they're BFF, Soundwave and Megatron. Maybe a little bit more, who knows. I'm not quite sure how romantic relationships between Cybertronians function or how they work. There are designated males and females, but I'm sure that doesn't really matter very much. Certainly not amongst the Decepticons. They seem a pretty depraved lot. Anyway, that is Cybertronian Soundwave, I suppose you could call him. A bot mode at least as good as his vehicle mode. He does have a little bit of kibbly stuff going on at the back, but nah, that doesn't really count because it adds to the look of the bot. He's beautiful. He's a really, really cool bot. Loads of articulation. That's one of the issues. This joint here, for some reason, is a little bit loose, but meh. That's such a small, niggling issue. I really don't mind that at all. Soundwave's one of my favourite characters from the Transformers, and it's great. It's great to see him. A version of Generation 1 Soundwave as well, which we haven't had since Generation 1, funnily enough. There have been alternative universe Soundwaves, but I don't think we've had a Generation 1 Soundwave apart from... Is there a shitty titanium version? I'm sure there is knocking about somewhere, and I'm sure it is properly shit. This isn't. This is proper Generation... Well, pre-Generation 1 Soundwave. This is War for Cybertron Soundwave. And easily one of the best to come out of the Generations line thus far. I didn't think much of him when I saw him in the package, but getting him in hand, he's absolutely beautiful. A must-have. And since I'm still in the mood to be doing some reviews, I don't know, I'm feeling a bit attention whorish today. Pay attention to me, listen to what I have to say. It's enlightening and very, very clever. I'm gonna continue and review something else that's completely unrelated to Soundwave or Generation 1 or War for Cybertron or the Generations line. I'm going to review... I've been wanting to do him since Auto Assembly, to be perfectly honest. I love this guy. This, I'm sure fans of Beast Machines will recognise. This is Megabolt, also known as the Grand Mal. Yeah, for some bizarre reason in the script to Beast Machines Megatron's Big Head mode was known as the Grand Mal. For those unaware, a Grand Mal is a kind of fit, it's a kind of seizure. Don't ask me, I don't know why they called it that. But there he is. Basically, in Beast Machines, Beast Wars Megatron returns to Cybertron completely deranged and mental, having developed this weird philosophy concerning the purity of machines over organic creatures. And he sets about ridding Cybertron and himself of all of its organic material, which he considers to be pollution. Tied to that is a bizarre philosophy concerning the existence of individual conflicting minds over and above the existence of a sort of overarching authority, a singular mind controlling everything, which of course is him. And in one of his efforts to purge himself of organic material, he actually develops this mode. This is, it's the big floating head mode, and it's the one he has for most of Beast Machines. It's sort of the most iconic version of Beast Machines Megatron. It's titanic. In the show, it's huge. It's like a giant vessel, or a satellite like a moon that floats around Cybertron and does various things. It doesn't have these spindly spider limbs. This is sort of a... The toy takes a lot of license with the actual design. This was originally... I think this was released in the RID line originally, but this version is the Universe version and is a Decepticon, actually. This version of Megabolt is a Herald of Unicron. He's one of Unicron's most powerful and successful generals, he's actually conquered entire realities on his own. Despite the size of the toy, which is minuscule, this thing is supposed to be fucking huge. He's a superb manipulator and diplomat. He goes to various planets that are inhabited by sentient beings and makes out that he's an ambassador for peace and for cooperation, and then either manipulates them into destroying themselves, or he just obliterates them. Very, very nasty character indeed. Whether this guy is the same character as Beast Machine's Megatron is unknown. It's possible. I imagine he is. He's sort of an alternative universe version of him that's corrupted by Unicronian ideals. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. This is the big head mode. It's basically a big all-terrain vessel. It can fly with these jets on its back. It can walk across land. It's got little wheels, and if you move them, its legs will go a la... well, they're supposed to go anyway. They're a bit stiff. A la Generation 1 Scorponok, which is rather nice. It's not quite as movable as Generation 1 Scorponok. Open his mouth, he's got a little missile in there which he can fire, and he also has the Transmetal 2 Megatron thing in that he can lip sync, which is very, very nice indeed. So yes, you can have him singing Total Eclipse of the Heart or something like that. There was an earlier version of this released, as I said, in the RID line that was more close to the colours it wore in the original show. This is a heavy adaptation. It's actually really beautiful. This sort of gold flushing into green with blues and blacks. The only problem is, you see that gold? Yeah, you know what's going on there, don't you? It is indeed the dreaded gold plastic. And the problem with that is this thing requires a lot of movement. When it transforms, this whole thing here splits and swivels around. I'm a little afraid to transform him, I will admit, because there are bits of him that are broken already. He's almost composed, this version of him, entirely of the dreaded gold plastic. Why do you do this to us, Hasbro? Why? Anyway, in the show, the head doesn't transform into a robot, it transforms into a ship. Sort of like a spacecraft, which it doesn't need to transform into because it already flies. Yeah, which is why this version transforms into a rather lovely robot mode. Now, let me see if I can do this without breaking it. He's a bit of a shell former. The whole head splits down the front like that and splits down the back. And you can already see this taking shape. Those are his legs. And he's got a bit of a groin section there, close up on the groin. And these sort of halves of the head, they don't really do anything. They sort of swivel back around and they just form like, I don't know, shields. You could call them kibble if you were being unfair. I think they look rather nice though. It's just a matter of being very, very gentle. Otherwise, he'll come a cropper. This is fun. I love this transformation. These legs, this leg section here has got to go around there. So there's like a disc at his centre that the whole thing swivels around on. And it's a case of just getting everything out of the fucking way. There we are. There you go, see? And then the abdomen clips in there. That's a really lovely, unique little transformation. Oh, damn headshot. I hate that. You have to sort of do the headshot before it's done. I like the headshot to come at the very end, but some Transformers, well, you just can't do that with. You can't work with them. You just can't. Like bloody actors in that regard. Just can't work with them, love. Anyway, enough of that tomfoolery. There's his lovely little arms, which are also composed of gold plastic, god damn you. His legs are particularly sexy and glorious. He has big, beefy, gorgeous legs. Now look at this. This is a really cool transformation. You see the way the feet are recessed back there? You have to sort of bring this knee section down and then pull pull the entire knee forward to form the feet. It's really a very, very small transformation, but when you're done, you get these very satisfying leg pieces. Let me show you that again on the other one, in case you didn't see that, because I was too busy struggling with it to see if I got it on camera, because I'm a twat. There we are, look, there we go. Yeah, there we are. That's the foot. Very, very sexy indeed. That's basically him. He does have a feature which changes the look of him quite significantly. I'll show you that in a tick. Hang on, let me get him into a nice pose. I like to pose my Transformers, which is why I'll be doing a very, very special little Transformer very soon, who is probably the most brilliantly poseable I've ever come across. In fact, I might do him today. I'm feeling generous, I'll do him today. Anyway, there is, can you see him properly there? There's Megabolt in his robot mode, and I don't know whether you can see on this camera, but his head is highly reminiscent of his original Beast Wars Megatron head. It's got the silly constipated snarl and all of that stuff, which is very nice. But he does have an alternative. If you press the Decepticon spark in his chest, that happens. And he gets a silly missile launcher on his head, which is a little bit weird. But if you look now, his head has been covered by the control helmet that he wears in Beast Machines, which is very, very, very nice. For me, this is a more worthy Beast Machines Megatron than the original one. The original Beast Machines Megatron is a absolutely shitty, scrawny, anorexic looking thing. It's supposed to be an adaptation of Transmetal 2 Megatron. You remember the Glorious Dragon that I reviewed? One of my first reviews. It's absolutely brilliant. They fucked it up a little bit, and it's tiny. It's about that big, and it's hideous compared to this. Anyway, this is just glorious. Beautiful, beautiful bot. Very, very poseable. He has a lot of back kibble, but that's fine. It just enhances the look of him. Also, he's a great Megatron. Nominally he's Megabolt, but no, it's Megatron. This is definitely a Megatron. The only reason they called him Megabolt is to differentiate him from RID Megatron. It's a really, really lovely adaptation of Beast Wars / Beast Machines Megatron, and one of the few worthy successors to his Transmetal 2 mode. Again, it would have been lovely if he were bigger. God, wouldn't it? If he were like a playset. If he were the size of a base former, and you could open the head up and it had like compartments and things where you could put Vehicons and all of that jazz, that would be great, but you can't. You were stuck with this, which is fine. He's a very, very lovely little bot, and he has an interesting bio as well. I like how apocalyptic he is. A very worthy purchase if you can find it. He's kind of difficult to get for a reasonable price. I wouldn't pay mega bucks for him. I think I paid something like 12 quid for him, which is about as much as I'm willing to pay, to be perfectly honest. But very good. And despite the gold plastic, I actually like this one better than the original. The colour scheme on this one just appeals to me. So there you go. That is Beast Machines Megatron / Megabolt.